doing a procure to pay project, and this is the agenda for today's meeting. So we're going to give you a little bit of background on the procure to pay project, and then we'll discuss the delegation of authority module, the CSUB financial delegation levels, the new DOA chart field structure, the new DOA form, DOA cleanup tasks, and conversion key dates. And then again, we'll do a Q&A session at the end. So for background, CSUBUY Procure to Pay is going to transform the way the CSU manages procurement and accounts payable activities. The implementation of CSUBUY brings numerous benefits and opportunities for our organization, including improved efficiency and productivity through streamlined workflows and automation, enhanced data accuracy and accessibility, leading to better informed decision-making, enhanced collaboration and communication across teams and departments, standardized processes that promote consistency and scalability, and empowerment for our employees, enabling them to focus on value-added tasks and innovation. Next slide, please. So all 23 campuses and the Chancellor's office will migrate to this system. This project was, the decision was made at a system-wide level. CSUB is one of the first wave of campuses to implement CSUBUY. Initially, there were 6 campuses, went down to 4, and then there were 9 in wave 1. Our expected go live date is sometime in early 2024, most likely March. Just to give you that heads up, though nothing's been set in stone yet at this time. The system was configured based on CSU system-wide best practices, and as a result, campus processes will need to change. These changes will not only occur in the CSUBUY system, but also in campus forms and department policies and procedures in the BAS division. Your commitment, adaptability, and willingness to embrace change will be instrumental to the success of the project. As we move forward, we encourage each of you to fully embrace CSUBUY and leverage its capabilities to its fullest extent. I would also like to add the system as well as the campus project team will be providing, a lot of resources for this project, including training, guides, and we're developing all that to support everybody, the campus, through this implementation and continued support once we go live. And now I'm going to go ahead and hand this over to Liz in Accounting and Reporting Services to talk about the new Delegation of Authority module. And I'd also like to add the reason that we have to move to this new DOA module is because the way the DOA was configured at a system-wide level, there is a new standardized DOA project that was done through our common management system, through the Chancellor's office, working with a team of other campuses, and this was the format that they determined that all campuses are also going to have to move over. So with that, I'll hand it over to Liz.
Hi, everyone. I'm Liz Gamez. I think I've met almost everyone that joined us today, but if you haven't, it's nice to see you in our meeting. We'll be covering a lot of information, so hopefully we can go, if you have any questions, we can answer them at the end. As Marina mentioned, we are implementing the new Delegation of Authority module as a result of us implementing P2P. And so the new DOA module will now be housed in CFS, whereas previously it was in my HR. And so the new DOA structure will now include divisions. So we will need to indicate whether we are adding DOA either to academic affairs, BAS, student affairs, and so on and so forth. And we also will need to be adding the approval levels. So we have approval levels 1 through 4, which will match the financial delegation levels that Marina has been sharing with everyone that are needed for P2P. And also the chart flow levels in DOA will be changing. So in the past, we would delegate chart fills to 3 levels, but now with the new DOA, we will be delegating only to the fund level or fund and department levels. So we will no longer have authority on the project level. So that is going away, and that's a major change that we will see as we convert to the new system. The DOA data will be extracted weekly from the system, so there's no change there. We'll be saving it, downloading it into Excel like we had in the past. We'll be doing it weekly, maybe sometimes bi-weekly, depending on how many updates we're making. And it will be saved just like in the old format. It'll be saved by business unit, and it will be in the same location in box. The only difference is that it'll look a little bit different. So we're still working on that, getting the extract ready for the Excel file. So we don't have anything to present right now, but just know that it's going to be in the same location, and it'll be by business unit. Okay, and then here is the financial delegation levels that you've all seen with P2P. So it's the same levels 1 through 4, and there hasn't been any changes. We probably just kind of clarified on some of the titles a little bit more, just so that it matches with our DOA delegation approvals. For currently our DOA structure, as I mentioned before, we had fund, department, and project was always optional. But now under the new DOA structure, we can't delegate on the project level. So what we'll be doing for campus, and it will vary by business unit. So for the campus business unit, we'll be delegating to fund and department for all BK funds. So that will be either BK001, BK002, BKC funds, BKGRD, any BKCPO, all of those will remain as fund and department. Now, if we have a fund that begins with an M, and that could be our MX funds, our student fees like MCs, MUs, MNs, all of those, and all of our capital funds. So that will be your ACI, your ADM, HA funds, all of those will be now at the fund level. And so we do have some exceptions. We have MSI, MSF, and EAGLE funds, which some of these funds are very project driven. And so it'll be really important that you have a unique department that will be used with your M fund for these exceptions only. So in lieu of using a project, we'll be asking that you have a very unique department, so that'll be used in combination with your MSI fund, MSF, or EAGLE funds. Now for foundation, I'll go ahead and pass it over to Jessica if you want to mention how foundation will be structured.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody. So for the foundation funds, we are taking a similar approach to only using fund for DOA when it comes to the athletics funds, which will just cut down on some of the input that is in the DOA, since athletic has so many department IDs. And for all other funds in the foundation, we'll be using fund and department, which is pretty typical of what we always have been doing. And like Liz mentioned, we won't have project codes anymore. So we'll have to take a look at those. And I'm also helping out with the SPA DOA for this P2P DOA conversion. And in talking with their team, it sounds like doing a fund only for the DOA will work for them as well.
Thanks, Jessica. And then for ASI and Student Union.
Hi, everyone. So for BKASI and BKSTU, I encourage the usage of fund only. However, if you do want to utilize fund and department, reach out to me or the Student Affairs org email, and we can work with you on that. I do want to make sure everybody has a little bit of a clarification note. We won't be using project numbers for DOA purposes. However, you still utilize your project numbers for account chart string purposes. So project numbers aren't going anywhere. They are still going to be utilized for our accounting records. However, a project number does not determine delegation of authority any longer. Go ahead, Liz.
Go ahead. I'll move on to the next slide. So with the new DOA module, we also needed to modify our existing chart fill request form. And so we made several improvements, and I want to thank Becky Lappin and she was very instrumental in helping us modify our new form and actually converting it into a power form in Adobe Sign. So that's a major improvement that everybody will see, and it'll be a really nice workflow. I think it'll be user-friendly for everyone. The new form is currently live, and it's now located in the Campus Gateway form. So let me pull that up so everyone can see. So here's the Campus Gateway, and you'll see all the forms are listed alphabetically. If you go under C and you look for chart fill request form, it's right there. And so once you click there, then it'll take you to the form. So the new workflow will start with a contact person. So that will be the person that will be responsible for filling out the form and also be responsible for assigning all the levels, 1 through 2. Excuse me, 2 through 4. So that person, of course, as you're filling out, if you're the contact person, you'll have to know ahead of time all the levels and who your signers are going to be. So it's very important that you have that information. Because once the form is started off in Adobe Sign, there can't be any modifications. Next, you can also assign a previewer, and this will be a person that will review the form prior to obtaining all the signatures. So you might want to assign this to maybe a budget analyst who might be reviewing the form to make sure that all the information is correct and maybe the levels are correct. And so it's a good idea to maybe just have a second person reviewing it. And that, of course, is an optional recipient, so that's not a requirement. Then we'll start with routing the form to the lowest level of approval, which will be your level 4, which will include all MVPs, deans, associate deans, department chairs, grant PIs, and other AVPs if needed. And then level 3, and then we have after your level 3, we have room for additional level 2s and additional levels 3 and 4. And so, of course, these are also optional. It's important for me to mention that as you're adding your approvers, please only add signers that are truly responsible, operationally responsible for approving the expenses for your fund and department. Many instances we'll see so many signers being added, and really the people that are added may not necessarily be the people who are really responsible for that fund or department. I think people are used to just adding everybody just because we want coverage for signature authority purposes, but we really want only those people who are fiscally responsible for that fund. And that will be very important because for P2P, when it gets routed in P2P for approval, all your signers that you're delegating, they will all get the email to approve either your requisition or your direct pay, and we don't want that. We don't want to start flooding people with all these approval requests because we only need one person to approve it, and if everybody's getting the same email, it's just going to be very confusing. So at this point, I just wanted to mention that make sure that we're really delegating to the necessary people for routing. And then, of course, for number 7, will be the level 2 approval, which will be your provost or vice president. And then we don't need a level 1 approved. We don't need signatures for level 1 because obviously that will be the president and Tom Davis, and so we don't need to route those signatures. For number 8 will be your approving authority. So this will be whoever's signing on section 3 of the form. So just remember to follow your approval hierarchy for your division. So if you're adding signers on levels 3 and 4, then the person who should be signing on section 3 should probably be someone in the level 2 approver. So, and then lastly, it'll route to GRASP if it's a grant related fund. And then there's an option for you to add the email for the SPA postal. So I'm going to go back to the form and show you what it looks like. So here is the power form. Here are all the recipients that we just went over. And then you'll add each email here. And then lastly, you're going to route it to the accounting team based on the business unit. And so it'll say, see instructions above. And so here you'll see which email to use depending on which business unit, and that team will receive the form. And you don't have to guess as to who you're sending the form to any longer. And then in the bottom here, you'll see these field options where you will indicate the business unit, the type of request. And you just enter right here, whether it's a new request, if you're updating or inactivating, and then your department name. And then you hit submit, and then it'll route your signatures. If once you kick off the form and you route it for signatures, please note that there's no way to modify the form after it's been filled out by the contact person. So once it goes to a level approver, like a level 4 or 3, and there needs to be a change, you can't make a change anymore once the form's already been routed. So at that point, then the form will need to be declined, and then the process will need to start over again. So it's really important that the contact person has all the information available at the time that they're filling out the form, and that it's all filled out properly, because if the form is missing information, then it will get rejected. So,
And if someone rejects it, there's a box that needs to be filled in, and you would just let them know why you're rejecting it, so that they will learn for the next, not only for that form, but for the future.
thanks, Becky. Anything else I should mention?
No,
Oh. So here is, I know it's really small, but here's a preview of what the form will look like filled out. Like we mentioned, the form will include divisions and all the levels right here. It'll be routed to each accounting team based on the business unit, and there is the ability to add attachments. So there's a limit of 5 documents with a size limit of 5 megabytes, and so you can just add them right here at the bottom. And then here is, oh, you know what, before I get into section, oh, okay, we can start this slide. For section 2, they will be drop-down selections, so they'll make it easier so people don't have to worry about, how do I indicate which division? Because we all say, some of us will say BAS, but others will say Business Administrative Services. So the good news is that there's drop-down selection, so you just select it for business unit, division, and I think the levels are drop-downs, right, Becky?
and the first 4 are not, the last 2 are.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, so business unit, division, and then these 2 last signers are drop-downs.
Mhm.
Required fields will be business unit, division, and fund. Department, of course, is available, but it's only going to be optional if you need it, and it will be based on the business unit, like on the slide that we showed previously. And in the financial levels, we already have level 1 assigned, so we never need a signature there. And then we'll have levels 2, 3, and 4. And then levels 3, optional levels 3 and 4, if we need additional signers, will be here. And these will be the drop-down option for you. And then we have, of course, the concur information will be now in this section. Before it was in section 1 of the form, but now we moved it to section 2.
And if the person submitting the form wants to add the optional approvers in the bottom 2, they need to choose from the drop down. They can't leave that blank or it will be rejected, because we need to know what level those people are supposed to be assigned to.
So here's an example what Becky was referring to, where it was sent to Adobe Sign, but they forgot to sign the level here, and they already have the signature. So this is an example of one where we would probably reject the form because we would not know if this person should be a level 3 or level 4. And so here is an example of a completed form. So we have all the levels, all the divisions signed, and a concur reviewer if you have that applicable for your department or fund. Okay. So we are asking for each area to assist us with some cleanup tasks in order for us to implement the new DOA log. The current, all the data that we need cleaned up is now saved in box by division. So it's saved in the same folder we have our signature authority. There's a folder called P2P DOA cleanup, and we created a folder by each division. And so we're asking each division to review their data, their DOA data for accuracy. We will ask that you review all your approval levels by divisions and, review all your levels and then review all your divisions for accuracy. So we tried our best to assign all the departments to a division based on the department tree. But there might be some instances where something should actually be in one division versus another. And so it was hard for us to know if it falls. There's some that were very obvious, but there were some that were a little bit tricky. So we're asking everyone to review that information on tab 1. Tab 2 is where we're asking everyone to look for any approval gaps. So as we mentioned before, we're trying to make sure that we have approvals on all 4 levels, but sometimes then that might be feasible. So we're looking at possibly having most coverage in our approvals in levels 3 and 4. So we're asking everybody to just go back and review your levels 3 and 4, because these are the people who are going to be reviewing, probably receiving all of the approvals, whether it's on a requisition or a direct pay, because it's now going to be based on dollar value. And so we want to make sure that we have 100% approvers on a level 4 admin. And then level on your tab 3, we're just reviewing all the approvers that were delegated on the project level based on our old data. And we want to make sure that those signers also exist on the fund department or either on the fund level itself. So let me show you what the file would look like. So here's one for campus, for academic affairs. And so here's all the data. So it'll say the signer, the department, and the division, and then what level they're on. And so if you find that you have a department that really doesn't belong in academic affairs, you can email us and then we'll make the correction. And then this is just a simple, it's more clean to see it if you want to just look at your levels without having to worry about all your departments. But make sure that these people are correctly designated as a level 3, or if should they be a level 4. And then tab 2 is where we have identified all the gaps. So where you see that it's blank, that means that you don't have an approval. So we really want to focus on these levels 3 and 4. So if you have any blanks, that means you're missing a level 4 person. So we probably need to go back and look at, D10, 10,005 and see, okay, maybe we need to start looking at, okay, who would be the level 4? Because right now we just have these levels. And then tab 3, of course, are all the projects. If you need to have your signers for this project, then we want to make sure, should we add, these missing individuals on our deal. And if you're missing gaps, please start having that conversation with either your deans and AVPs to start identifying which individuals now will be assigning on all these gaps here. So, Heather, did you want to add anything, or Jessica, did you want to add anything for your business units?
No.
No, I went through and structured our files similarly to your files, Liz, so they should be pretty easy to jump back and forth between. The only thing I was going to say is for foundation, I think except for academic affairs file, the projects are all pretty much okay for all the other divisions already. They already had DOA approvers with just the fund and department ID. So I think the only one who really needs to worry about looking at project level is academic affairs for foundation.
And here's the tab that Jessica's referring to.
Right. So I just put on here, like if it was green, if you scroll down, there's some green ones that I've already confirmed that it already has a fund and department combo in the DOA, but everything else that I didn't highlight, those need to get looked at and confirm whether there is a need for that string and if there is already signers for that, or if they need to add just the fund and department ID to DOA.
For the campus, when you're looking at tab 3, compare it to the information on tab 1. Tab 1 is what's going to be converted to the new module. So this is the stuff that will not come over. So anything in tab 3 will not come over. But if you notice that you want to add a signer, in that case, we'll need a form to add that person in, because we will not be bringing in, for campus, we will not be bringing in any of this data on tab 3. So I just wanted to clarify that in case people were wondering what to do with the tab, the last tab for projects. Okay. Now, with all of these changes, we have key conversion dates that we need help with all areas. And starting with tomorrow, you can start submitting your DOA updates, because the form's already live. So if you want to start as early as tomorrow, that would be great. The last day that we will be accepting any DOA updates is December 8th for guaranteed processing. I'm saying, you know, on this day, we will make sure to get all your updates in the system before the conversion. After this date, we won't guarantee, we won't make any promises that we'll make sure to get all those updates ready, but we will try our best. So if you are, if you have a lot of updates and for your area, please make sure to get them in before the date, because I have a feeling that we'll be flooded with a lot of forms and a lot of changes, and you probably don't want to worry about whether your form will be processed or not. So the sooner you get it in, the better. We will have a blackout period, which means no updates between January 5th and January 4th. And the reason why is this gives us time to be able to extract the data from the old system, begin the conversion, assigning all the levels, getting all the divisions correct. So if you have a change in division as you're reviewing your stuff now, let us know so that when we begin the conversion in January, we know where to assign your department to the right division. And then we will begin uploading the data. We'll start testing also for P2P, and then we'll be addressing any issues that we encounter during this time period. And if everything goes according to plan, we're expected to go live for the new DOA at the end of January. And so this is really important because we'll need your cooperation. If the data is incorrect, I won't be able to upload it into the new module because I will get errors, and I've been getting error after error after error. So the cleaner your data is, the better it will be, and it will be smoother for us to do the conversion and the upload. And if you have questions on your DOA, please reach out to each accounting team. You can send an email to accounting@csubuy.edu, or to ASI, you can send it to Student Affairs Accounting, Foundation Accounting, and then Postal Words to their Postal Words email, and Student Affairs also for SCI. And that's it for us. If you have any questions, please let us know. And Bianca, if you don't mind, if there's been any questions in the chat, we can start with those first.
There's none as of yet, but if you guys want to pop your questions in there as of now. Okay, Andrea Whitehall has her hand raised, so go ahead, Andrea.
Okay, thank you. I have a couple questions, so bear with me. Hi, Liz. Okay, so when you originally sent the email to Academic Affairs to start cleaning up, some of the admins have already gone forward with that process. Do we need to redo this on the new form? Because they've been ready submitting corrections.
Whatever we submitted, as long as, so it's still being routed in Adobe, is that? Because we have
Yes.
them, okay,
So, well, it was not a power form, but it was just routed through, yeah, Adobe Sign to get it like a certified signature, but it wasn't that same form because the list looks a little different now from what you originally sent. So, so I just want to make sure that it's okay that those changes are okay on that form, first of all.
yes, I think we can manage as long as it's not on a project level, because if the form has projects on it, then that's when we'll probably have to say, oh, we can't do anything about projects.
I think most of them were fund department, so we should be okay on those.
Okay. I think once we get the form, Andrea, what I'll do is we can look to make sure we can easily identify the levels. If not, then we'll reach out to the contact person on the old form to help us at least assign the right levels.
Okay, great. That will be very helpful. My other questions are, not all well, on the old list, I haven't looked at this new one, but not all our current signers the variety of levels were all over the place. Do we need to fix the levels? And if so, where do we indicate that we're just fixing the level rather than adding an additional signer on that new form?
Oh, so on the new form, if you find, let's say, you'll be under academic affairs, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
And
so like if our dean was on level 1 or something, just say, as an example, so would that be our responsibility to make sure that the level gets updated? And then if so, how do we indicate that on the form?
just add them on the form and just say level 1.
Okay.
Liz,
Of course not level 1, but level 2. I mean, your dean will be level 3. Sorry. Yeah.
Andrea, can I ask just because so the question that you're asking, like if the dean was a level 1 before, but based on this new process, they're technically now like a level 3. Are you asking like if they were level 1, how do you move them to a level 3? Because I
Correct.
thought, Liz, on our spreadsheets, we've already gone through and tried to assign levels based on title. And so it's really more you looking through this here that Liz is showing and making sure that we didn't misassign to the certain people in your area based on their title. So if Dean Frakes was down on level 4 for whatever reason, then you would want to look at that and go, no, he's a dean, he should be on level 3. Am I right about that, Liz?
So the levels on the old data, Andrea, they don't translate to these new levels.
Okay, so that's what's confusing,
Yeah.
is that we were working off this old data in anticipation for this meeting.
Oh, sorry.
And so we've been working off that. So Jessica, yours makes total sense, that it's already been identified. And I think at the time I was trying to get clarity on what the significance of the levels meant. And now that it's been identified, I just want to make sure that everyone's going to fit. So on this new list, that's great if they're already identified and we can go in and confirm that everyone is the right level.
Yeah, so that's this tab 1, we've already gone through and assigned everyone based on their working title, what the correct level should be. So the old levels in the old DOA have nothing to do and will not translate to this new DOA.
Okay, so that's good to know. So we're going to disregard all the old stuff and focus on this one. I'm sorry, I missed this part, but can you tell me then, if I do see someone that's incorrect in a level, how do I correct that? Is that an email?
You could probably either send us a form and just say the new level on the new form. And then that way, when we do the data conversion, we know to assign it to the right place.
Okay, great. And then my last question, I'm sorry to take all the questions. But on the new form, just to confirm, when the chart field is created or requesting a new chart field and identifying the signers, will the person initiating the form still be contacted when the chart field is set up?
Yes, so as long as, well, now the form will require a contact person, so we will always contact them.
Great.
In the email notification.
Okay, so the email will still follow that, setting up the chart field. Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Okay, so to answer Martha's question, yes, this meeting was recorded, and so tomorrow we put the link in the chat. There is a P2P webpage on the procurement websites page. There's a whole website dedicated to P2P. So the slides and the recording will be posted there. That link is in the chat. So we'll keep going. Laura Ann Bishop, how will areas that don't have 4 levels be handled? For example, the provost office has the provost and AVP alternate as signers.
Heather, did you want to jump in? Because this is where I was talking about, having the conversations with all the levels to assign, to determine the gaps and how they'll be handled. But go ahead, Heather.
Yeah, so I think there's 2 options for your AVP, because the level 4 can approve up to 500,000. You can always move somebody down a level. So if you're concerned, you could put your AVP as a level 4, even though they have the qualifications to be a level 3, you can move them down. I think that we were also going to move forward with gaps, if I recall correctly, Liz. So if you want to move forward with a 3-2-1, but we aren't quite sure. We're still working with our consultants, and they're working to see what that looks like from DOA. So we may ultimately need a 4.
So if you decide to follow like the option that Heather mentioned, where we're going to change someone from a level 3 to a level 4, they would have to be a level 4 for all other remaining chart fields. So we can't have one person right now as both level 3 and a level 4 on different chart fields. So the consultants are looking at exploring that as an option, but as of right now, it's not available for us. So if you do find that you need to move someone from a level 3 to a level 4, just make sure that you're consistently moving them across the board for all chart fields as well, because as of right now, we don't have that ability. So when we go live, that ability is not going to be available for us, but I suspect it will be in the future. And so we're hoping that it'll be available before we go live, but we don't know at this point.
Heather, you said we could move forward with gaps though, right? So wouldn't that just mean they could leave their AVP as a level 3 and have a gap at the level 4?
That was my understanding, but there may have been information since that last conversation that Liz is bringing up. So Liz, can we move forward with gaps?
We can, yes, but it's just, you can't have a person in both levels 3 and 4 is what I was.
Okay, so yeah, so if Laura Ann, to answer your question, what would probably be best at this time is to leave your level 4 blank in this specific example. Put your AVP as level 3, and provost would obviously be level 2.
Okay, next question. Although DOA will not be set up at the project level for SPA, and you mentioned that it is okay for us to continue using them, can we at least add the project number to the form for our record retention and also for our purposes of consolidating all the needed information onto one document?
Well, I think this is going, yeah, I mean, if you're initiating a new project number, that would be the top of the form. But when you're talking about DOA only, the project number is not in the section that is talking about DOA. Liz, do you want to bring up the form again?
see if I can make it smaller. You can see both sections 1 and 2.
Yeah, so if you're doing a project, if you're initiating a new project, you're going to fill out section 1. If we're talking about DOA and DOA only, there's not even a spot to put your project number on. Does that hopefully answer the question?
Sorry, I'm here. I think so. So DOA is just for I think this is becoming a 2-component process where prior for our internal processes, it was a 1. So we're talking 2 different things here, I think.
Liz, will you scroll up just a little bit on the form? So Pam, if you see the top of the form where it says please select, that part is actually very consistent with the prior form. And so it gives directions depending on what you're wanting to do. So if you want to request a new chart field, then you need to read the instructions, but essentially you're doing your 1, 2, and 3. If you're only modifying DOA, then you only are doing section 2. So it really does depend on the intent. I think for SPA, for you guys, you will be doing new chart fields. So yes, you would have your project on there because that would be part of section 1.
Correct. We typically do all of our adding our fund projects at the onset of a grant activation, and then so for the purposes for our division, we do occasional modify, but for the most part it's either activate new or inactivate.
Yeah, so I think you'll be fine because you'll have your section 1 out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and then Camille, due to our recent leadership change in ITS, all of our departments are missing level 2 approver. Do we need to submit forms to reassign levels? Which we have kind of talked over this change, but go ahead.
For our level 1 and level 2, because of changes, division or campus wide, we know that there will be memos and correspondence on those changes, and we will use those interim memos as our backup, so you don't need to worry about those. So your level 1 and your level 2 for pending, but I guess you're talking about IT for your level 3. Was that correct, Cami?
So level 2, like our interim automatically went up to let me read this properly. Make sure I understand. Yeah, we have our interim went up to level 3 in most cases where he was number 4. So we've got 3 and 4. We're just missing level 2 across most all of them.
But you have a vice president.
Yeah,
That's level 2.
But it's Tom, so he's level 1. You know what? I mean, we have that on our list for Bass, because I know Bass is going to be a little bit tricky because Tom is currently a level 1.
Yeah, both president and Tom are level 1.
Yeah. So yes, we have looked into that. I know Heather and I and Becky and Marina have been in discussions about the level 2 for Bass.
Okay, thank you. I know that, I appreciate everyone handling this for us for the most part without us having to submit a lot of forms, but I don't know if we need to now reassign levels, but we can be in communication later.
Yes.
Yeah, and Cami, if your level 2 is your only concern, I think you're okay. You're in a pretty good spot. So I wouldn't worry too much about a level 2 issue. It's your level 3s and level 4s is what we're primarily finding issues and what we need help with.
Okay, great.
Jackie Green, I think she had a hand up.
Thank you, ladies, for working on this. My question may be jumping ahead. I'm curious to know how the levels will be handled within the actual P2P system. Will there be like a drop down or that'll allow the submitter in that system to select what level needs to sign or anything like that? Or should I just wait until the next
No,
meeting if we have one?
No, it's going to route according to this delegation of authority to the lowest level, the level 4 person up to 500,000, it will route to that person. If it's above 500,000, it will go up one.
Okay, perfect.
And it's just looking for one signature.
Got it. Okay. And then is there going to be like a time frame at each level? Like say 5 days at
I don't
level
believe
4?
they've told us that yet, have they? I don't remember them telling us a time limit.
I
Okay.
don't think there is one, like for a deadline for them to sign something.
Exactly. So we can keep on
There
track.
might be, and because I know in Concur, there's one that after so many days, it rolls to the next person because you don't want it to sit there forever.
Exactly.
But I don't recall them telling us that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know there also is the ability for if a DOA signer is going to be on vacation or something within the system, they have the ability to delegate that to their next in line or who's ever going to be signing for them while they're out. So there is that ability as well.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, ladies.
Okay, next one from Laura Ann. Can faculty directors have signature authority as level 4, not MPP?
No, if they're not NPP, the only way they would be as a delegated approver is if they're a department chair.
And this is consistent with prior DOA. There's no change on that level.
Okay, Adriana, question is in relation to the eventual conversion to P2P once DOA updates are complete. Will requisitions automatically route to the appropriate level approver based on the financial delegations mentioned? I think we kind of already covered that. Yes.
Yeah, that answered my question.
Okay.
I guess I do have a follow-up though. So based on Becky's answer, so in our structure, we have our level 4 would be our associate dean. So all requisitions will automatically go to our associate dean for approval.
Yes.
You can have more than one. The form allows you to have 2 additional people. If you set up, let's say, 3 level 4s, you have your regular number 4, and then you have 2 others. Let's as an example. They all 3 would get an email at the same time, and whoever was available would pull it and would approve it, would review it and approve it, and it would not be available to anyone else.
Okay. I guess the concern there is that our dean is the approver for all of our chart fields, like the one who approves all of our financial spending. The associate dean is available as a backup to him in case he's not available, but he should be the one approving there.
This
so
is
should we
where they were discussing that the system is requiring sometimes a change in processes. And this would be one of them. We would hope that the associate dean would be talking to the dean, you know, that it would not be a surprise that this purchase was coming.
Is there, sorry, I'm gonna jump on this because Adriana and I are in the same office. Is there a way that this is probably no, but is there a way like our associate dean could be level 3 and our dean could be level 4? Because our associate dean does not handle any financials.
So you
Like,
can't
at all.
you can't move up a level, but you can always move down a level. But what, we've kind of talked about within our group is the potential for internal processes to be implemented. So if your dean for your area needs to approve invoices based off of your internal processes, what you'd want to do is probably route it through Adobe Sign to him before you then route it through P2P. So kind of making sure you've got that approval, but it will fall within the departments to initiate those transactions, because P2P, you can't designate something different than the levels allow.
would that be allowed in the new, I guess the new form does, it only identifies who we're routing it to when we identify it, right? It's not gonna like give us a kickback that we're routing it. You see what I'm saying? In the,
They were saying it goes to level 4 automatically. So it sounds like it's gonna go to level 4 first, and I'm assuming they can assign it to themselves and then it won't be available to the other levels. And then if they don't want to sign it, they kick it back into that cart for the other 4. That's what it sounds like.
If there are more than one level 4s for that chart field.
I mean, I'm sorry, the other level. So like as it goes through the process. So it's like level 2 or 3.
No, it's gonna
2.
go to level 4.
Okay,
The only way-
automatically. Mhm.
The
It
only
doesn't-
way it will go to a level 3 is it once it exceeds that 500 grand mark. So if it's under that, which is going to be the majority of our expenses, it's really your level 4 that's going to be approving. Whoever you've designated as that level 4 will be your primary
And
approver.
And that would be unless they don't put a level 4, right? Like if they just want it to go to your level 3, then just don't have a level 4,
that was
right?
my next question
Right.
is, do I have to
Perfect.
put a level 4?
No.
No, I don't then.
No,
Yeah.
we can have gaps.
Great.
That's
That
wonderful.
that solves the issue then. So we just wanted to make sure that it would
Thank
go
you. Thank you, Jessica.
to the appropriate person. Thank you.
I think one thing to take into consideration is that that structure that we showed you, that was not created on our campus. That was something that was provided us by the chancellor's office for this project, and this is what they're doing system wide. And in order to create efficiencies, we're trying to remove a lot of the stop gaps that happen. And when something's being routed through 10 different areas for signature, that causes significant delays. And then by the time it gets to, say, procurement, the pressure is on us to get something ordered when you know, a lot of the delays that have happened were outside of our control. So we're trying to expedite things to be processed in a more timely manner. And there's some areas that it can sit in an area for something pending signature for weeks or longer, right? And then procurement gets contacted. Do you have that requisition yet? Do you have that requisition yet? No, it's still pending signature in such and such office. So you know, a lot of the system is to create efficiencies, improve processing times. There's going to be integrated workflows where things that procurement has to route, which you guys aren't even aware of that we get, and then also cause delays, are going to be able to be done through the system prior to procurement receiving the requisition. And you will have the transparency to see where things are at. If it has to go to HR for independent contractor review and is sitting there, if it has to go to facilities for review and approval for some particular reason, if it's in solutions consulting because it's an ICT item and has to go through that particular review and approval process. So you know, it's the system will help you to know exactly where it's at within the different areas, and for you to be aware of that. But we see sometimes where there's 10 signatures or initials on a requisition and it comes to procurement, and yet there's still inaccuracies. There's still chart fields that are incorrect, and there's still signers that aren't appropriate on that chart field string. So the system won't allow you to submit something if it's not accurate. So this will help improve the accuracy of the items that are being submitted, and they won't even make it into the queue unless it's an accurate chart field string. It's an approved signer that's connected with that chart field string on the DOA.
So Michael did ask if the reviewer notices that there is missing or incorrect information when a form is being generated, do they have the ability to send it back to the originator of the form for correction? Or does the form need to be rejected and the process starts over? So Michael, yes, the request, as it goes through the approval process, you can submit it back to the requester and with a comment saying, you know, change the chart, make your corrections. There is a way to reject it where that totally kills the requisition, but there is a way to notify the requester of any changes that you want, and it will go back to the requester.
I don't know if Michael's question was related to this DOA form or if it
Or-
was to the P2P requisition. I guess we need clarification. DOA form.
Mm.
Oh, okay.
Becky, can you answer that?
Yes, I don't know of any way to do it. There's only a decline to sign, which is a rejection, a nice way of saying rejection. But you would write them what was wrong, and then it would go back and they would need to start again.
Okay, and then Brittany, if there are 2 level 4 signers, will the completed final document go to both signers or only the one that signed? Or who do these finalized documents route to?
Are you talking about a requisition or a DOA form? Brittany? Is it,
I mean, I would like the answer to both, actually, would be great.
so
Thank
on
you.
the DOA form, on the workflow, it has the flow that you will assign how you want it to route on the workflow for the DOA form.
Mm-hmm.
So that's part of this part. So here, if you're going to have an additional signer here, they'll get it after levels 4 and 3 have already signed. So any additional people will come in after these have signed.
And anyone who signs it should receive a finalized copy when it's done.
But
then,
only, so for the requisitions, only one of them would be able to sign it if they were the same level, correct? If there are 2
Correct.
level
Only one
4s.
would sign it, but both would receive it in their, queue. So only one would be able to approve it.
But then when it's complete, the final form gets sent to both of them?
I have not seen that process.
Yeah, I don't.
They built it last time I don't know.
If it's in P2P, we would have the option to like search for
Look
that
it up.
PO or requisition and obtain
Yeah.
a copy, right? Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
Everything in there that's associated with the requester, and I'm assuming like the departments, there should be transparency for you to see all the documents that are associated with your areas.
Okay, I guess the confusion for us would be is sometimes facilities puts in purchase orders onto our department or onto our funds. They have the same approving level as Mary, so sometimes they do them on our behalf. So I'm just curious whether we'd be able to see those when they do those or not. So it sounds like maybe.
So they're using your chart field string stateside or auxiliary,
Stateside. So
like for
different
maintenance facilities type things.
correct.
I would assume you guys would have the ability to see that information.
Okay.
I don't know that there's signers on those chart field strings, so
They
I
are
think
on our MP
Okay.
level or on our MP funds. They
Yeah.
are.
okay.
Brina, for the ones that Brittany's talking about, we have facility departments under
Okay.
the MP funds. So to Brittany's point, the MP department facilities would route to them. For other expenses, those would route to Mary. So Brittany, we just need to be sure Mary's listed on all those facility departments, just so she keeps in the loop on everything.
Thanks, Heather.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, when a project number is being requested on a current fund/department, do we need to indicate the signers if the signers already have signer authorization?
As long as they're listed on the fund or fund department level, they do not need to be. So, because the form, there's no way for you to add projects anymore. So, if you're requesting a new project up here, and it's for, let's say, BK 555, if these signers, if you're not changing the signers, then there's no need to add new signers, unless you're adding a new signer for that fund and maybe department. But for project, no, you don't have to worry about, unless you wanted to add a new one for that fund and department. Okay, I think,
Yeah, I
know
think we're at
it's-
time.
yeah, we're at time and we have a lot of questions, I think, still popping in. If people need to drop off, I don't know, Heather, should we continue or should we have people, email questions?
I mean, we can stay on maybe a bit longer, see if we can get through a few more. And maybe this is indicative, Marina, of needing to set up maybe a Q&A session in the upcoming weeks just to go through more of the P2P, not just DOA, but maybe some of the other items, but specifically to DOA. I mean, since we need this by the 8th, we should probably take advantage of the time. Bianca, do you want to do the next question? I'm not sure where we left off.
So I answered a few questions in the chat that were kind of just related to P2P specific. Let's see, there's another one coming in.
I think, did we cover Kathleen Driscoll's question?
It's just the last one was just me saying, I'm gonna ask the consultants about the time limits. Since none of us remember hearing
Yeah.
about that, we're gonna ask.
Yeah, we will ask. Okay, Andrea, go ahead. You have your hand raised.
Yeah, sorry. I have a
You're
million
fine.
questions.
Okay.
I just want to make sure we do this once and we do it right. So, my question is in regards, oh my gosh, I just lost my train of thought. What was I thinking? Oh, yes. Okay, so if we have on the requisition, if we have different funding sources that people are paying for, will it go to level 4 for each chart filled string? Automatically?
Yes. It will need to be signed by someone who has signature authority over each chart field that you use.
Awesome. And will there be any option? I know it doesn't look like it, but is there any option built in to P2P to allow any type of reviewers, not signers, but just reviewers?
They told us at the what did you call it? When they came here to campus, the campus visit, that there is a place for one reviewer per transaction.
I think what we determined would work out is if somebody creates a requisition, then they can then assign the cart to the analyst, and the analyst does the review, and then the analyst then submits it. And once they do that, then the approver would see, okay, my analyst has reviewed this, so they know that it's good to go and they'll sign off on it.
Can I bounce it around to different reviewers once it's, because what if like Tanya Snyder's coming up on my screen, so I'm going to use her as an example, but what if we have a shared chart field and her MPP is signing off on half the expense, my MPP is signing off on half the expense, and he's going to want to see her initials over mine? Is there a way that I can look at it?
You have the ability to do like comments, so you can put a comment and say, hey, Tanya, reaching out to you, can you verify this is approved? And that comment can stay within the system, so for an audit trail it shows in there. Because if you're creating the requisition, because I think whoever creates the requisition, even if they're doing a split distribution, that would be the person that would be submitting it to whoever are the approvers, right? So it wouldn't show that you and Tanya are both creating and submitting the requisition. It would be Andrea's creating, or even a department, ASC's creating the requisition. However, they're then assigning it to you, and then you're submitting it for approval.
And then I could put in there a comment approved for A&H. And I could route it to Tanya and she could put in her comments and both of our MPPs could see that.
Yeah, I mean, if you put the comments in there, you would just need as training to show your MPPs where to look for that information to see where those comments are, so they know where the information is that they need to look for to see that in order to approve it, if that's what they're requesting.
Thank you.
Okay, Tanya, you want to go ahead? You had your hand raised.
Yeah. Am I understanding it correctly that if an email or whatever goes out to all the level 4 approvers, and whoever gets to it first can approve it? Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes.
Okay, so.
Of your fund and department.
For my fund and department, right? So if I'm purchasing something that may be for one person, or for one department, but I have another signer on there. If I have multiple we have 3 MPPs in the building, and historically, all 3 MPPs could sign off on things, but of course it was routed to the right person at the right time. The rest of them were just on there as backups for signature. But it sounded like I don't want to do that, because I don't want one MPP to sign for another department that he doesn't actually work for. So I need to make sure that those are all very split from here on out. Not have everybody available to sign for something, because I don't want somebody to sign for another department that they're not even responsible for, truly.
So for Eagle, we are bringing over fund and department levels. So all your signers are coming over on the fund and department level. So if now is probably a good time to really look at all your signers to make sure, are these the people who are really fiscally responsible for that fund and department? If not, now's the time to clean it up and say, no, we want to remove these people because they really don't have the operational responsibility of that department. But
or for the whole fund, really, for the whole fund.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it will route, from my understanding with the consultants, in P2P, it'll route first to fund and department for approvals. And then if there isn't any, then it'll go to fund level next.
Okay. Okay. And Dr. Novak is leaving, and there has not been an interim announced yet. So if that doesn't happen by December 8th, or, enough time for me to do that, what am I just going to leave that blank for now?
When is he still going to be is he going to be retired as of December 8th?
No, December 21st, but I'm just saying you want December, the end of the year, he'll be retiring.
Yeah, we'll probably need to leave that as a gap for now.
Okay.
And that can be, as the new dean comes in, then that can definitely be added.
Okay. Thank you.
And Tanya, hopefully we can find out before, when's our blackout date start, Liz, in January?
January 5th.
Yeah, so we really do hope like somebody gets named as interim before the 5th, because we have to kind of do a blackout while we update everything, which will then, if you need that new interim person to sign anything, they won't be entered in until the 20, Liz, what was it, the 20?
After we go live.
Yeah, so definitely good question, Tanya, and something to consider for your area.
Yeah, I'll just name who I want in there. So thank you.
I like it.
So Elizabeth, kind of same situation. SRM will have a change in leadership sometime between December 8th and January 5th. A new director has yet to be announced. We are aware of that situation, Elizabeth. So will purchasing in P2P be on hold for our program until changes in DOA can be submitted after the start date of January 25th. So it's basically
we'll just
like
do
the same
the
situation.
best. We'll just do the best that we can. We understand there's going to be changes in personnel. People are going to come and go, and we'll just, deal with that as needed. We do have the ability, obviously, to update the DOA once we've transitioned over and moved it. It just is a process we have to work with the CMS team on, because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, we don't even have the ability to update it in the CSUBUY system. It's a very controlled system that the chancellor's office has kind of locked down. So they will take the file from CFS when the changes are made, and they will do that updates in there. I want to say possibly nightly, but I'm not 100% sure on that. So yeah, I know there's going to be a lot of transition come January for sure.
Okay, so I think that answered Lisa's question as well. She has the same situation in SSE.
Did you have another question, Tanya?
Okay.
Andrea, can I address your issue? I know you mentioned about maybe changing your dean from one level to another, I wanted to recommend maybe having all forms routed to you as the previewer so that you know that he is now going to be like, let's say a level 4. Because if anybody, like if some admin person decides to fill out the form, they might decide to go off of, you know, oh, okay, I see level 3, it's going to be a dean, and they'll still assign them as a level 3. And we might mistakenly process it. So it might be a good idea to maybe have, if you decide to make a change in the levels, to have a point of contact for that person to have, to be the previewer of all forms going forward, so that way they know, okay, you know what, this is now, our dean's now going to be a level 4, and I need to make sure that's correct. Just an idea, because otherwise I could see what happening is my team, they'll process it and they'll say, oh yeah, Dr. Frakesky's dean, that makes sense, let's process it as a level 3.
Thank you. I will make sure that my team does that.
Thank you, everyone. I don't think we have any more questions. We appreciate you attending, and the questions were great, and it made us really think really hard about our processes. So I appreciate all your input and everybody just thinking through the process. It really helps us as well. And that way we can go back to the consultants and address any open items that we still have pending. So
Thank you, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving next week. Bye.
Bianca, thank you for helping with the note taking and also the monitoring all the questions. I really appreciate it.
No problem.